Okay, so quick introduction before the video starts. Talking about two different types of artists. I'm talking about, firstly, the mindset that weirdo autistic children in America are in when they think that they want to be artists, and then they haphazardly try to manifest being an artist, but they're really bad at it. And I'm just talking about the weird quirks they have. Uh, this video is a mess. And then the other type of person that I'm talking about are real artists, but they're evil. So those are the two things. Uh, it's kind of dual-sided, but they're both joined at the hip because of a hatred of normal non-artist people. There's a really good video, funnily enough, made by Digibro called Levels of Anime Autism Explained. And I'm gonna probably talk more about that video or reference this video the more I make stuff because it's so pertinent to the things that I'm interested in. But he's really right that the more autistic you are, uh, the more like single-minded you are, the more theistic you are, and the more you kind of just only care about like a couple things. So like you could look at okay, I have this up. I thought I'd go outside so I could get some fresh air, some serenity. In this vlog, I wanted to talk about artists. So I talked about people trying to manifest things into reality with a occult willpower. People who think that they're better than other people because they studied some esoteric principle and they know how the world works in like a hidden kind of way. They know the underlying principles, they know certain laws of the universe, and they think that they can manipulate these things to get certain rewards. Artists aren't that different.
If you think anything is gonna change, it's not gonna change. Michael Jackson said it way back in the day. If you wanna make a change, you gotta look in the mirror and change yourself. It starts with you. Because one mind controls a lot of things. You have a magnetic field. You have to understand this is just one planet out of all of the universe. You know what I'm saying? We're not the only ones here, first of all. This is just one planet out of the entire universe. You have a magnetic field, whatever you wish to acquire. Applying the law of attraction all the way down to Albert Einstein and Isaac Newton. Applying your laws of the universe. You know what I'm saying? Applying these things. You understand that your brain is the most important thing. And if you give your brain to the system, you're feeding them and not yourself.
Matter of fact, there's a reason why the music industry, or even just like Hollywood in general, is so enamored with symbols and symbolism, right? Uh, I don't really think that underground artists are that much different, especially, you know, just on a behavioral level. They might not be into weird Egyptian hieroglyphs and stuff like that. You know what I mean? They might not be into some weird Greco-Roman androgynous hermaphrodite deity or something like that. You know what I mean? They don't have to be into these weird occult things to act occult, if that makes sense. And a lot of artists tend to think that they're better than other people. And I guess this is just me extrapolating upon the saying of never meet your heroes or don't meet your idols or whatever it is, because it's not just that they are super egotistical, but there is something in American culture, and maybe it's always existed in society, but uh, I mean, at the very least, in places like Japan with animation studios, they view being an artist as akin to learning a trade or something like that. Or at least I'm guessing, you know what I mean? Because there's so many animators working on a project, uh, it becomes very there's like they view it as like craftsmanship. At least from the people I've talked to. Correct me if I'm wrong.
because I'm a complete outsider to Japanese culture, stuff like that. I don't know. In America, at least, and maybe it's just more abroad, in Western society, people are infatuated with the idea of being a tortured artist. Now, what does being a tortured artist mean? Well, uh, I can tell you right now, with since the internet's existed and you have stuff like DeviantArt popping up left and right, you have a bunch of people who are socially jaded or they could never integrate themselves in socially, and there's a resentment towards other people. Perhaps they're deficient in other fields as well. They don't know how to do algebra. They failed in school. They're just academically not that good. They try to justify it in a way where they can be like, oh, well, I'm actually a savant. Okay, I'm deficient in these other fields because I basically have savant syndrome and I'm autistic. I have ADHD. You know, I'm deficient socially, and this must make me a great, brilliant artist. And people don't seem to understand that I'm so great and I'm so amazing. This is why I'm better than other people. And, this is just a big issue because these people aren't even good at drawing either half the time. They grew up watching Cartoon Network and a bunch of other junk. Uh, I forgot if I might have already recorded a vlog from literally 2 years ago that I never uploaded, that I might upload, where I talked about the abstraction of art styles over time, where art used to be a incredibly grounded thing into reality, and then there was simplification of the simplification, taking certain cultural motifs for granted, such as like superhero outfits where they're bright and vibrant because it's futuristic. But then there's adaptations of those things in the 2000s, and they're drawn in a more geometric art style. And then kids watch that, and then now art is so utterly incomprehensible and insane that you can't tell what people are drawing. And no offense towards any people who are on the spectrum or whatever, but I typically only see people of that walk of life basically drawing these things. You have the rise of Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss, stuff like that, with these types of kids and young adults who are infantilized. And it's not just that they think that they can draw whatever they want and they have unrealistic expectations for how the world works. They think that they're going to be an artist. They think that they're going to be an animator, or they're independent animators because they watched like a Pimations video or whatever. It's also fueled by like misanthropy and infantilism. They go hand in hand essentially because people are socially jaded. They're bullied probably for being uh, idiosyncratic. Maybe they grew up on a different block than other kids, so they never got to play outside with anybody. So they retreated to the internet at a young age. Or better yet, with some of the really weird people, they have super restrictive parents, and that combined with the fact that they're separated from other children and they don't get to retreat to the internet normally, uh, they develop extremely strange niche interests, hyperfixations, and they become the really weird people that you see. It's not always the case with that, with super weird people, but it's something that I've seen personally. And these people, they either think that they're super deficient socially, they'll never succeed. They feel like they are at a disadvantage and they'll never be able to do anything ever. They'll never make any friends. So they have to be an artist because that's the only thing that they enjoy. It's the only thing that they feel like they're tapped into. Or they legitimately think that they're better than everyone else because they don't listen to rap music in the hallway like all the loud kids do. They listen to music from the 80s, right? Or maybe they listen to some other kind of like a genre of music that people would consider cringy or whatever. Uh, I listen to music that has emotions in it. I don't listen to rap music. All these kids in the hallway, they're listening to Post Malone, whatever, right? There is a misanthropy that they have towards their peers. They hate people. They tend to love animals, small animals and stuff. Uh, and there's been a very interesting thing, cultural phenomenon with this in America, 2000s and 2010s, and you see traces of it now, but far less so because I think more people actually want to be extroverted. There's been communities of weirdos that have basically popularized themselves so they're no longer weird. But at least in the 2000s and 2010s, you had a lot of people who were unpopular and they got bullied for being unpopular because they didn't want to grow up, or maybe their peers grew up too fast. And, typically there's morbid implications to that that's projected onto them, like, oh, they have depression, they have anxiety. So these people are like, wow, I'm kind of morbid, right? I'm kind of dark because I'm weird, I'm socially cast out, and I'm not normal. And besides that, this desensitizes them to talking about morbidity because they think that they're morbid, so they live with it every single day. Because they think that they're morbid, emotionally disturbed people, and they'll just talk about whatever's on their mind, which is what makes them weird. They are desensitized to horror, essentially. Like they could be really into creepy pastas and stuff, or they watched Markiplier as a kid play super violent, scary games, and these kids think that they are initiated into a certain line of thinking that other people aren't. They and it's such a weird combination where it's these people who are emotionally stunted, which makes them depressed, separated from other kids, so they're more likely to talk about morbid things and why they don't like other people. It's that combined with the fact that they are emotionally infantilized and they watch cartoons still. So you have this really weird mixture where you have people probably on the spectrum, or maybe they just have anxiety or something, and they identify with serial killers and stuff that's scary, and then they give these scary things cute attributes. And you see this in a lot of web comics on the internet, where you have basically this weird, once again, this super weird phenomenon that I think started in America before it started anywhere else, of probably specifically American teen girls in like 2011, 2013, uh, cutesifying uh, creepy stories about serial killers or monsters. It reaches such a stupid point to where they have comics where it's like,
To show you guys what I'm talking about, I pulled up a picture in the video. So if you're listening to this, look at the video. Um, this picture is a really good example of what I'm talking about, to where these people are acquainted with the evil, the dark side, because this white kid is weirding me out. They're probably gonna go cut themselves. You know what? Maybe I am. Oh, and they talk like that too. Anyway, they're so acquainted with evil that they can go to the forest and Slenderman will try to attack them, and then they will be like, "Oh, Slenderman, not now! Don't bother me! Come on, dude! Don't make me tell Jeff about this." These people feel as though that they can relate to Slender Man or Jeff the Killer because they're weird, they're scary, and then they're like, oh, I'm weird and scary. And also, I can talk about things like horror, whereas other kids my age are afraid of horror, so therefore I am more mature than them. It's like a false sense of maturity, but it's also at the same time even though horror they think is like a mature thing, they're also like immature about something to be mature about, I guess, because they'll be like, they'll revel in the imaginary bloodshed.
You don't really see that much now because people are super socially anxious now to be out in the open, because in like 2015 and 2016, and I guess a little bit before that, well, really the entire time, you had people bullying these communities. But I think it really climaxed in like 2015, 2016, when you have commentary channels on YouTube putting people on blast and making fun of them, and then these videos would get like 10 million views or something ridiculous like that. So a lot of these communities were extinguished, but we're definitely seeing a rise of them now in the 2020s, along with the gender stuff. The LGBTQ community is the perfect safe space for these emotionally stunted teenagers to basically congregate around each other. And that's why you have Hell of a Boss, Has Been Hotel stuff. And it's just so weird to me. People who are emotionally stunted, used to morbidity, talking about, oh, I can talk about scary things that I'm not allowed to talk about in school. Like that, this makes me better than other people who are so shallow, basically, and I'm like a really good artist. These people are staunch atheists. They are super atheistic. Um, Maybe they were even raised in an evangelical household. And it's kind of funny. I might talk about this in a different vlog where there's like a weird kind of irony to the fact that, you know, evangelicals are the main people in America that are combating the insanity, a lot of these insane people. But at the same time, they're so bad at it that they actually produce, like, their children are crazy. Like, evangelical families, they're so bad at, they're the only people calling out the insanity in our culture, but they're spiritually deficient. They don't have any discernment at all. They are super hyper consumerist. They defend dying institutions in America. And the issue with conservatism in America is that it can't renew itself. So their children end up breaking away, sterilizing themselves. The internet has been like overwhelmingly atheist since its conception. uh, the 80s and 90s, you have all sorts of satanic bands popping up, movies that are countercultural, quote unquote. Uh, by the time it's the 2000s, it's the new hegemony, right? You don't get to complain about neoconservatism anymore because that's not realistically what we're dealing with. You know what I mean? We're not dealing with uh, Bible thumping, insane Christians anymore. You know what I mean? That's long gone. Matter of fact, in the American elite, we haven't even had that for like centuries, basically. Because even George Washington was like a deist. We've had deist presidents, by the way. I guess besides that, you can't even say that it's like a cultural icon anymore. You know what I mean? Like neoliberals are neoconservatives. They're the same thing. Like a neoconservative would have been crying about how we need to fight Russia and Ukraine in the early 2000s, and nowadays the far left is basically doing the same thing. They're war hawks. They're totally crazy. and I really don't see a difference between liberals and neoconservatives other than uh, religious affiliation, basically. Neoconservatives could at least lie and say that they were Christians, but you know, the elites they don't have to do that anymore. What I'm trying to say is people were crying about the hyper Christian evangelical culture since like really the I mean since forever, because even in the start of America as we know it now, we had deists and all sorts of freaky utilitarian degenerates. But over time, uh, those types of ideas they didn't have to lurk in the shadows anymore. It became more exposed to uh, everyday life, everyday sensibilities, the rise of scientism, NGOism, hyper rationalism, all this mumbo jumbo, and it's no longer in the shadows. It can just openly display itself. They don't have to pretend that they're Christian anymore. There's no difference between uh, the neoconservatives of the early 2000s and the crazy LGBTQ neoliberals now. There's no difference. They would both step into Ukraine and fight Russia and all that. Except the difference is that gay people are going to be on board with the latter and not the former. That's the only difference. They don't want to appeal to Christianity anymore. It's no longer beneficial to them. They can just completely scrap it. It's more beneficial now to side with gays and the LGBT. So because of this, uh, the internet has always been atheist or Satanist even. It's always been libertine, but at the very least, because there was a predominantly neocon culture in the early 2000s, these strange internet weird emo freaks, heavy quotes, they weren't very political back then. They were mostly just reacting to the religious climate that they were in, like having upside down crosses and this and that. But now that it is the predominant culture, uh, they are hyper political. Has been hotel fans in the early 2000s, because there was a predominantly neocon culture. They wouldn't have really identified that much with being liberal. They would have been like, I don't really care about politics. I just care about Jeff the Killer, Sunderman. When the American culture was predominantly neoconservative in the 2000s and early 2010s, you'll obviously see a shift. But they're still combating evangelism. These DeviantArt, introvert, animal lover, uh, I hate my classmates, they're so loud. These people would have been less political, or they would have been hesitant on subscribing to a particular political affiliation. They probably wouldn't be super well read on the matter. But now that neoconservatism has basically shed any, Christian garments, it can just be itself, and it can recontextualize itself as progressive. Now all these freakazoids have a thing that they can identify with politically. So the big shift is that the people supporting Ukraine in the past, they would have been super conservative evangelicals, but now they don't have to be those people anymore. It's almost too risky for it to be those people. they can be disposed of and thrown away. The gay people, the LGBT, they can be the people who can subscribe to this wave of gender identity stuff, basically. And no hate to these kids or anything like that. It's just the truth of the matter. They've found they've been adopted into this platform because the last one was too unreliable. It's too tricky to play with religion like that. And so now you have these misanthropic, Satanist, insane, mentally ill, emotionally stunted people being created in American schools. They're no longer on the fringes of society, but they're actually being deliberately cultivated now, at least out in the open. Teachers are endorsing it, and it's way worse now. These people are artists. These people are artists. But that's not even really what I wanted to even talk about. So the past 20 minutes has basically just been insane rambling, and I might post it as a separate video, unlisted. Artists. They are the tools of the elite. They are people who see themselves as individuals separate than the collective. Either they feel that they are too socially or intellectually deficient to integrate themselves into regular society, so they retreat to their interests and they draw stuff online or they make music. It's either that or you have the more normie and successful version of this. You basically have two types of artists. You have the autistic, deficient artists, and then on the other side, you have the sociopathic, insane, crazy artists. And these people, uh, they don't even really feel like they're deficient in any type of way. They legitimately just think that they're better than everybody else, and that's why they get to be an artist. And usually they actually are pretty talented, unlike the former, which usually just makes up artists on Twitter or people on Discord who are once again on the spectrum. The latter, they don't fall into that camp at all. They legitimately think that they're better than other people. They know how to talk to people. They know how to use people. And this relates to my last video with people who think that they have occult knowledge of the world and the principles of the universe, who think that they can manipulate providence to be on top. Professional musicians all inherently believe this. And especially rappers and rap culture, there's a heavy emphasis on chasing the bag in rap culture at large, wherein society is completely corrupted, it could never be fixed, everybody's out to get you, and so you channel your will into the medium of music, like rapping and whatnot, and you transcend your need for society. This is basically what rap music is all about. Rap music is all about transcending the need for society. Your community is like the birthing pit, the Darwinian birthing pit, where people are born to die unless they're stronger than other people. And so you subvert this chaos so you can benefit off of it, so you can be successful off of it, so that you can trample on these souls, and then you can transcend the need to be around them. You can enjoy uh, all the luxuries that this world has to offer, and you become a god through this. You exalt yourself through subversion. It's exaltation through subversion. It is incredibly satanic, it is incredibly damning, and it has permanently damaged culture, like irreparably. Culture is so doomed because of this. And this is coming from someone who is interested in rap music. I like rap music. I grew up listening to rap music. Uh, it's very true. It's incredibly true. And I mean, it's not really exclusive to just rap music. It's these bands in general that were before rap, like metal bands and rock bands. But rap is like especially worse because before it was mainly about networking, creating these cliques, and you know, with rap, it's about being the supreme individual, the main character essentially, and once again they think that they're way better than everybody else, and they are super cocky. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Most artists are bad people. Because once again, I was saying this before, there is a undercurrent in the American culture that believes that artistic talent is intrinsic. It's a part of your essence. It has nothing to do with craftsmanship or learning a trade or whatever. It's something that's within you. It's basically vril, and you cultivate what's intrinsically within you. And this is how autistic people, like I mentioned before, are uh, grifted into wanting to become artists, even though they're really bad at it. It's because of this idea. And then the people who are successful just inherently have a super Machiavellian, manipulative worldview because they think that they're intrinsically better than everybody else, and they don't view it as a trade or something to cultivate. And I do think some people are naturally gifted at art more than other people, but if you're spiritually deficient, then it doesn't matter. Everything you've ever created is worthless. Any ability you have has been completely squandered. If you create art online, chances are you're a bad person. I'm sorry. I'm completely sorry. It's very rare to meet an online artist who's actually a good person. This goes for musicians, but it also just goes for people who even create graphic design and whatnot. They're all bad people because they all believe in. They're all introverted people. Yeah, man, I don't really fuck with other people. I don't really fuck with other people like that, bro. They're bad people, all of them, most of them. Most of them are bad people, and I'm not even naming anybody in particular because the culture itself of being an artist and creating stuff digitally is so polluted with misanthropy, not fucking with normal people, and just thinking everybody is like weird. And it's so effeminate. It's so disgusting when you have artists who are like just uncomfortable around other people. They're defensive. They're the type of people to go, okay, I guess. You're weird. You're weird, dude. Like artists are the people who do that. And it comes from the fact that they create art for themselves. They create art to glorify themselves. That's all it is. Artists are bad people because they create art solely for themselves, solely to exalt themselves, and out of resentment for other people, which is why they have reprehensible religious beliefs. This is why they tend to believe in occultism or just a super dull political atheism. You make me uncomfortable, dude. I don't want to talk to you. You're weird. I don't like you. I'm an artist. Okay, I'm a musician. Okay, buddy? What I do matters. But actually, I don't really care if other people listen to my music, even though I'm posting it online, because I'm doing it for myself. And I believe in like sigilmancy, and like you just have to unlock your mind. You know what I mean? You just have to like reverse engineer stuff with your head, basically. And drugs are really cool. And look, I'm just trying to make money, bro. Like, trust me, I'm totally not enchanted by what I'm doing. Trust me, I'm totally not uh, chasing after visceral experiences. I'm actually just focused on the money, dude. Trust me, I totally don't think that I'm like a movie character right now. I'm actually super down to earth. That's why I'm rude and disrespectful to you. Don't talk to artists. They're bad friends. Uh, they're bad people. They're polluting the public consciousness with their avant garde works of self loathing that have occultism embedded in them. These people think that they're better than you. They're using you as a way to step on you, step over your carcass, so they can transcend the needs to ever interact with you. Artists hate brushing shoulders with other people on the train or whatever. When they see a crowd of people gathered somewhere, they're completely revolted. If they do concerts because they view all of you guys as a human sacrifice to have them transcend even more. They view you guys as a necessary evil to get where they want. They hate you guys. They're not creating their stuff to inspire you, uh, because if they were, they wouldn't be so focused on occultism and symbology and just talking about themselves all the time. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with being a musician and making music about your own personal experiences, but you have to think about what the ends of that are for, basically. Because there's a lot of artists who literally view themselves as the main character in a movie, and all you guys are just scaffolding